President Trump reportedly grew frustrated during immigration discussions in the Oval Office Thursday and responded with an expletive. According to the Washington Post, the president complained about the U.S. taking immigrants from African countries and Haiti. Mr. Trump asked why people from those countries were coming to America. Major Garrett has more from the White House.
At an Oval Office meeting, President Trump lashed out at immigrants from countries in Africa and the Caribbean. Why are we having all these people from blank countries come here, the president said, using an expletive CBS News will not repeat. This occurred when immigration negotiations turned to efforts to protect immigration from Africa, as well as Haiti and El Salvador. According to a source briefed on the meeting, President Trump then suggested the U.S. allow more immigrants from countries like Norway.
It's been a pleasure to host you today.
The president met with Norwegian Prime Minister Erna Solberg yesterday. The White House did not deny the president's use of the expletive or its racially charged meaning. Certain Washington politicians choose to fight for foreign countries, but President Trump will always fight for the American people, said White House spokesman Raj Shah in a statement. The president will only accept an immigration deal that adequately addresses the visa lottery system and chain migration, two programs that hurt our economy and allow terrorists into our country. The president's attack on immigrants came when two senators, Republican Lindsey Graham of South Carolina and Democrat Dick Durbin of Illinois, suggested reducing the number of visas in the annual lottery system from 50,000 to 25,000, as opposed to scrapping it altogether. On Tuesday, the president criticized the lottery program, in which applicants must meet health, education, and work requirements and pass a background check.
They're not giving you their best names. Common sense means they're not giving you their best names. They're giving you people that they don't want.
The New York Times recently reported that last June, at another immigration meeting, President Trump said all Haitian immigrants to America have AIDS, and all Nigerians who come to America do so by leaving huts behind. The White House denied both comments and labeled the reporting lies based on anonymous sources. And Elaine, on Twitter, just a little bit a while ago, the chairman of the Congressional Black Caucus, Cedric Richmond, wrote there that these comments from the president offer further proof, and I quote, that his Make America Great Again agenda is really a Make America White Again agenda.
Well, Major, as you just noted, this is not the first time the president has reportedly made inflammatory comments about immigrants. What more can you tell us about the context of these latest remarks? Besides Dick Durbin and Lindsey Graham, do we know, for instance, who else was in the room?
Several other Republicans, but Elaine, that's not important. There is no context to these remarks. There is a debate about whether or not the visa lottery should continue, how it functions, and whether or not Congress would agree to scrapping it altogether or reshaping it. That's a policy discussion, okay? And it was going on, and quite honestly has been going on for several weeks, as this president has made it clear that the visa lottery program is something he wants either dramatically reduced or eliminated as part of any deal to deal with another pending immigration issue, deferred adjudication for childhood arrivals, DACA, the so-called Dreamers. But these remarks have no context. They just simply can't. To describe these countries in the way the president did, not only using an expletive with all the racially charged connotations that come with it, and then within seconds talk about a white northern European country as a far more acceptable alternative, has overtones to it that cannot be mistaken or in any way, shape, or form contextualized. They are separate from a policy disagreement or a policy discussion, which was going on when the president dropped this bomb-like rhetoric into the mix.
Just said there, based on what you've just said, my question is there a person either inside or outside of the White House that would be able and be in a position to explain to the president those overtones of which you speak, the racially charged nature of that comment?
There very well may be people inside the White House who can and possibly have had that conversation. That I don't know. But what is important to remind our audience, as these comments, which have in no way, shape, or form been denied by the White House, not at all. The statement from the White House makes no reference to it, but clearly if they were deniable, they would be denied, and they were not. So for all intents and purposes, as a fact matter, they stand. And there is to use the word context, a larger backdrop to this. Not just Charlottesville, not just some of the rhetoric that then candidate Trump used in the campaign, but if all of these things taken from the campaign, from this meeting that the New York Times reported on in great detail that occurred last June, either assumptions, stereotypes, or racially charged rhetoric about immigration that has a pattern behind it that appears to A, stereotype, B, use racial language, and of a very certain kind with a very certain orientation that is toward those who are of color, African, Haitian, meaning Caribbean, or Central American, and not Northern white Europeans. That would be part of this larger pattern that the country has seen and in some cases witnessed with horror as the campaign led to the presidency and now the moment we're in right now.
This is all developing very, very quickly. And I wonder, Major, are White House officials saying anything privately regarding this? Anything at all by way of perhaps not context, but to offer just additional information that they feel is important to keep in mind? No, other than that there is a policy disagreement about if there's going to be a visa lottery, should it be smaller in number? It's currently 50,000. The two senators mentioned in the piece, Lindsey Graham and Dick Durbin, were in a discussion with the president about maybe cutting that number from 50,000 to 25,000. And if so, what would be the composition? The countries that would have any kind of preference in that lottery system? And just so people understand, there's a lottery system, and the president describes it as, well, every country puts their worst into the lottery, and we have to pick from that. Well, that's not how the program works. Briefly, you have to have a medical exam that represents that you are healthy. You have to have a high school diploma from your country, and you have to have 2 years of work experience in the last 5 years to even apply. And then once you apply, if you are deemed worthy of getting into the lottery, you have to pass a 1-month State Department criminal and other background check. In 2016, Elaine, the latest statistics that are available, 309,000 applicants were denied even consideration in the lottery program. But that is a policy conversation, and it's a real one with real world effects. And the president wants to end it. Okay, that's a policy point of view. Others want to keep it and maybe reshape it along the lines of what the president is trying to get at. That's a policy conversation. Totally legitimate and a very much robust part of the way the American government works and the way we orient ourselves to legal immigration. All of that is valid. Not one thing about that is invalid. What is alarming and arresting is the language the president used around that policy conversation. And the White House has tried to provide no larger explanation for that whatsoever, other than the president likes to stand up for America. Before we let you go, Major, I'd like to ask about Medicaid. The Trump administration is encouraging states to require able-bodied Medicaid recipients to work or volunteer in order to keep their health insurance coverage. This would be a major policy shift for the program. What is the administration's reasoning behind this, and what are opponents saying?
And just some quick description here. Medicaid is health insurance for those who qualify because of their low income status. Frequently, they're working poor. There are currently 10 states that have applied for a waiver to have a demonstration program along the lines you just described, Elaine. We ran the numbers and we checked with Health and Human Services today and the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. Almost all of those 10 states that are trying these demonstration programs, 60 to 65% of their Medicaid population already works. So we're not talking about a great number of people. And in many of these states, as they've asked for this demonstration project to begin, they have their own exemptions in it that remove a great number of those who are not working from the potential population that could be affected by this, because they have mental health issues, they have child care issues, they have other things that would make it impossible for them to either perform community service or do other kind of work to qualify for Medicaid. So it's a demonstration project, one, in a very limited number of states with a very limited population. These are all the things we learned about it today. And yet, to your larger point, Medicaid, since its inception in the mid-'60s, has always been about if you qualify for it economically, you receive it, because it has been the decision of Congress and the federal government that if you're working poor or poor, you should have health care of some kind. And Medicaid is the vehicle by which that's delivered. If now you have to do something else in addition to your income qualification just to receive it, that would fundamentally change the program and those who receive it.
Right, Major Garrett at the White House. Major, thank you very much.
Sure.